Now you got to sit here for like 2 seconds and look really important because I've got to put a thumbnail together.
So you need like a pose?
Yeah, so I need just us basically sitting here for like 2 seconds. And then whichever part makes me look the best. So,
I agree. You have a harder time with that than I. Walked into that one. Got him.
All right. Welcome back to Pest Profits, a channel where we learn how to charge with confidence, lead like professionals. So today I'm having a conversation with Dave. This will probably be a lot more informal than it's starting off. We've known each other for a long time.
Yes.
And so,
15 years now? 20?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, maybe 20 years.
So we worked together at the office in Murrieta for the company that we both worked for. Then I moved up from there. Dave moved up and became an assistant there. And then he moved up and became a manager as well. Then he started talking about starting his own pest control company and convinced me I should do the same thing after a meeting with our corporate office. And then he chickened out and I ended up jumping in first.
It wasn't chickening out. I needed I needed some dummy to do it first.
I feel like he suckered me. That's what I feel like happened. So, and I'm sticking with that story. So we're going to talk basically just about why we started our own pest control companies, like what got us into pest control in the first place. So I'll kind of go first. I haven't really done an introduction as to who I am since I started this podcast. But I'm Nathan Cook. I have been in pest control for a little over 30 years. Started off when I was just like 18 years old. I was actually going to be starting a church in Rancho Cucamonga and needed something to supplement my income. My brother John worked for Terminex at the time. And so he's the one that they suggested I get into pest control. I ended up getting started with them. Started off doing termite work, crawling underneath people's houses and that kind of thing. Then moved from that to being a start tech for Terminex, just doing initial services, and then onto a route and have done everything in pest control. I mean, not everything, obviously, in pest control, but done an awful lot in pest control from, I've been an assistant manager. I've done a little bit in sales. I'm not a great salesman, but done a little bit in sales, and done a lot of termite as well. So kind of I've done bird work. I've done kind of a little bit of everything in pest control. Never done the fumigation side of it. I mean, sold them, but never done actually the fumigation side of it. So that's kind of how I got into it. That's how I started in pest control. What got you into pest control? Like, I don't think anybody gets into pest control. Nobody gets out of high school and goes, you know what, I really want to do.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like everyone's story is kind of the same with, it kind of just happens, or someone recommends it and falls in your lap or what have you, and or you're searching for a job online and it comes up. And mine was kind of similar to yours. A buddy of mine hit me up and recommended looking into it. He just got into the industry and he really liked it, and so that's kind of how I got into the industry. I started at Terminex and was there for a little while, then went to a mom and pop shop, and it was a little cliquey that I didn't really fit, so I left there. And then that's where I ended up at Dewey, and finished out my work years of working for a company there. And same thing, not as long as Nathan, but about 15 years I think in the industry total, and I've done a little bit of everything. I've got my weak points and strong points, but same thing, sales, termite, birds, and not very many bats. I think probably the one thing I haven't really done a whole lot of.
Bats just a little ways from here, remember?
Yeah. It's just I've maybe done 3 jobs for bats, so I'd say that's like one thing I haven't done a whole lot of. But it kind of fell in my lap, and the first time you get out in a truck and you're like, like you're coming from retail. I worked a long 11 years at Stater Brothers, and you've always got someone watching you, a camera on you, customers always around, and the first time you get in that truck and they turn you loose, and you're just like, I can do whatever I want, kind of, So that was what was attractive about it to me. I like working at the pace I want to work at, and having something to show for your work, and being an exceptional tech, and just having that reputation of like, hey, Dave does good work, and the job's going to get done right, and that's what really attracted me to the industry now.
Now everybody's got cameras on their house, and so we're right back to work.
Right back to square one. Yeah.
So, I remember when the cameras thing first started. People started getting cameras on the outside. Like, it was a very rare thing to find somebody with a camera on the outside of their house. I remember when it first started, I remember everybody complaining, and then now, like, everybody has them. Like,
Yeah, even if you don't see them,
yeah,
you gotta expect it.
I do a lot of multifamilies, so like people have cameras all over inside their apartments. Like, I could not live that way with like. I'm not that I'm doing anything, I guess, that I shouldn't be doing, but it's just weird.
That is when we got all the calls of like, "Hey, your technician is taking a crap in my backyard."
One of my favorite was we got the call for a guy that he was in somebody's house. This is when I worked for Terminex way back in the day. He was in a very high-end person's house, and apparently they did have cameras, and they caught him making himself a sandwich and then sitting down on their couch watching TV.
Living the life.
He was watching something on TV that he shouldn't have been too, but but we won't get all into that. So
gay porn's tough.
Yeah.
It's very
That's
addictive.
gonna have to get clipped.
Yeah. Leave it. It'll help your numbers.
But yeah, so right, I don't know. There's so many, like, every pest control guy I know has a story that people probably would not believe, and so, but for you, right? Like for me, I think I've talked a little bit in one of these episodes about kind of why I started my own thing. But really, that is why. Dave was up in Northern California and managing a branch there. I was here in Southern California. We'd been talking on the phone about it, and he had told me, I think I'm going to start my own thing. And at that time, I told him, well, good luck. That's really how I was kind of, not that I was a sure thing to be the next regional manager, but I was in line to possibly move up, become the next regional manager for my region at the company. And so I just thought I was going to go that direction. And then we went to the company that we used to work for. They had a big annual managers meeting where all the managers in the company would come together. And at that meeting, they had an OSHA representative there that spoke about involving safety in your reviews for your technicians in your annual job performance evaluations. And so when she was done talking, I just raised my hand. We didn't do any kind of evaluations of our technicians at all. We did no annual evaluations. They got nothing that said they were doing good, bad, indifferent. So I said, we don't do that. We don't do annual reviews of our technicians. Do you recommend that we do that? And one of the owners of the company stood up in the back and said, Nathan, we've always felt like your paycheck was your job performance evaluation. And I thought, at that time I think I was managing like $3.5 million worth of business for them. And I was like, I'm making like $65,000, maybe $70,000 a year. I was like, that doesn't seem, I must be doing a really bad job.
Not your opinion.
So we actually, Dave had ridden up with me because he'd come down for the meetings, met me at my house so that we could drive up to that meeting together. I got back in the car that afternoon and I told him, looks like I'm starting my own company too. And so that was really, like, I'd never really thought about starting my own company until David brought it up. I knew guys that had, but I'd never really thought about doing it myself until Dave brought it up and that situation took place. And then right from there, I just went through the process of getting this thing going, which I may cover in a different episode on kind of how to get your operators and all that kind of stuff. So don't want to give too much away for free. So, but yeah, so that was my journey to starting my own thing. What kind of prompted you in that area?
So I would say the biggest catalyst for me was when I was in Northern California and you start seeing everything on paper and, the company we worked at, you realize you are running the company, right? And you're getting a very, very small percent of, the money, which you should be getting more, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's not always about the money, but part of it is about improving your life for your family and your kids and having more free time. And so it wasn't just for the money. A lot of it was for free time. But my brother-in-law had actually flown up to come visit us, and it was actually his idea. He's like, "Why don't you just start your own company?" And that is actually what got me thinking and kind of working numbers in my head. Like, okay, like what do I need to do? And, and then so from that point on, that seed was planted and I didn't think much of it, for the first month or so, but it was in the back of my head. It was just nagging at me, like, well, what if I did, like, can I do it? And then you kind of start looking at everything. And like I said, the position we were in, you're like, well, I'm doing this, X, Y, Z. You're basically, besides answering your phones, doing everything. Right. So
we were our own insurance investigators. We did, you literally
everything.
For that. Yeah, we did everything.
Everything besides answering the phone, which you had a secretary for. But that's, not.
But if they got sick.
Yeah, you were answering phones. Yeah. If they called in sick, you were manning the phones as well. So we basically were doing everything.
Yeah.
So from that point on, it was just a matter of planning. I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I didn't know anyone in NorCal.
Yeah.
I didn't feel very comfortable making that jump, even though maybe because of Mo's, I probably should have.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I moved back, I got myself, kind of situated down here, which is why I think it took me a little longer. And it is nerve wracking, right? We both had that feeling, it's a huge decision, you don't know if it's going to succeed, you have no clue what you're doing. And so I was trying to get some things lined up and, Nathan, you did it a little differently than me. You put in your notice and then you just went for it, where I kind of started working on Saturdays and Sundays on the weekends and going out and getting some clients. And once I built up about maybe $1,500, maybe $2,000 worth of monthly revenue and customers, I decided, okay, I need to spend more of my time during the week soliciting and building my company than going out for, the company I was working at and working for them and making them money. So that's why I kind of drug my feet on it a little bit. But, like I said, it's a big decision. You got a family to provide for, like my wife at the time, she wasn't working. So it was just, there was a lot of pressure and then you just have to go out and succeed. And if you don't, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? It's hard times, right?
Well, we both had the feeling within the first couple of weeks, like, what the heck was I thinking?
Yes. Within the first, 2 to 3 weeks, it felt like a really huge mistake.
Yes.
And for the first, probably, at least for me, about 4 to 5 months, I was like, this was a horrible idea.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until about a year in, it started to kind of snowball and things started to just kind of like line up. And you basically got your feet under you and like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is the formula for success for me. Right.
Yeah.
And you and I are different. Your bread and butter is more commercial and apartments. And that's where you started making the change, right? You struggled because you were going after, residential for a while. And you're like, that's not what I do. Right.
Yeah.
And so once you find your groove, then that made it a lot easier, and that's when things start rolling for you.
So pest control is crazy, right? If you're in the pest control industry, you're listening to this. This is really for anybody that's in the service industry. But if you're in pest control, you know this, right? There's a crazy high level of turnover within the pest control industry, especially at the technician level. And so part of that is what we're talking about today, which is the pest control companies really have not changed the way that they paid. I've been in this business for over 30 years. I am, 51 or something like that now, or will be 51, something like that. I'm suck at tracking my birthdays, but I'm making this, like most technicians that are working in a company are making the exact same dollar amount that I was making when I first started in this industry at 18, right? So I've been in and out of the industry, but when I first started in the industry at 18, I was running a decent sized route. I was making 25%. Everything was commission. You were paid on production. We called it production, but it was basically commission. You were paid on what you completed, services, and you just got basically straight up 25%. And I was making, $5-6 grand a month, which was great.
Yeah.
For a family, right? And stuff
especially back in the 60s.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, it was great for a guy like in 19, that would have been 95 probably when I really hit my groove and started making money in pest control. Like that was good money. But with the price of gas and housing and everything else
Inflation.
Now, I don't know how a guy can work full-time doing pest control and make it if he doesn't have in his head, like, this is a path that I'm going to travel for now, but on the other side of this path is I'm starting my own thing, or I'm learning something that's going to benefit me in some other industry.
Right. Yeah. And I think that bleeds over to a lot of other industries too. I mean, it's come to the point where both mom and dad got to work.
Yeah.
You know, unless you've got a over $150,000 a year job. Both parties are working. You know, and that's tough too.
Especially in Southern California.
In Southern California.
So, it is. It's definitely made it makes a massive difference in just having started my own thing has made a colossal difference, overall is in my life, and the value, right, that the quality, I guess maybe is the right way of putting it, right? The quality of life that you live. And I'm not making crazy money, I'm not making, $1 million a year or anything like that. I'm probably doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 or so. My company makes more than that, but as far as what I'm paying myself right out of my company, I'm making probably right at that, somewhere right in that neighborhood now. And I don't work crazy hours. I don't,
we're off by 3:00 most days.
Yeah. Right. we don't, we're not working weekends, right? All that kind of stuff. And you can make right. Mose is a perfect example. If Mose watches this, then he can sue me for using his name. Don't sue me,
Moses.
Yeah, that's right. It's a different Mose. Yeah. Right. He's got a different gear than us two do.
Yeah, he's a different breed.
Right? And you may have that different gear too, like he does, right? He's blowing numbers out of the water. Dude started after us. He's already got 2 technicians.
Three now.
3 technicians now, right? He's going and blowing, he's doing something. Maybe I need to do one of these episodes with him, probably too.
Yeah, he probably would have been a better candidate.
Yeah. So, right. Well, I think the point right, is that whatever it is, wherever you're at in pest control right now, you can do what we're doing. You can go start your own thing. You don't have to be a rocket scientist, right? You don't have to, if doing apartments is not your thing, it's my thing. I love doing apartment complexes. That's not your thing, right? There's a niche out there that you fit into, and you can get those customers, right? And you can make way better. You can, at the very least, you could make the same amount of money. If you're fine with what you're making now, you can make the same amount of money you're making now, and have a way better quality of life.
Yeah.
Actually maybe see your kids from time to time. And it might prevent you from getting a divorce or something.
Yeah. Well, in our defense also, Mose took a lot of notes from me over the years.
Yeah.
He wrote down. He actually, to his credit,
he took all the advice that we don't take ourselves.
He did that, and he also wrote down what not to do. We were like, oh man, I actually, when I started, I thought he was a genius and I wouldn't charge a startup fee, and that backfired on me really, really badly. So, Moses, he kept a little journal.
Yeah.
He wrote down everything that I would call and say, that backfired. They ghosted me, you're out of money basically with that. So, he did not make those same mistakes, which I think is what helped him, get so far ahead. But he's also
he's got a different
something
gear.
of an animal.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he's an animal.
He was that way when he was working for you.
He was the top salesman in Dewey. On top of all the salespeople, he's running a $20,000 route. He outsold everyone in the entire company most months.
Yeah,
as a tech. So he's something else.
Yeah, he's built different. Right?
He's the Michael Jordan of sales and pest control.
So right, and you might be that, right? If you're that guy in your office, there's no reason you should stay, right? So, but well, right. Talking about that, right? What are some things that you did when you started that, looking back now, you go eesh, if I was going to do this, if I had the chance to go all the way back to square one, right? These are the things I wouldn't do.
I probably would have kept a journal like Mose and asked you what not to do.
Yeah.
But I definitely, like I just stated, I definitely would not have eliminated the startup fee.
Yeah.
I think that really kind of separates your customers of who's serious and who's not, right?
Yeah.
There are people, unfortunately, out there that are going to take advantage of that. You know? They see, oh, okay, and they're just going to use you one time, you get rid of the issue, and then they just ghost you. They don't even answer you, right? They won't even give you the respect to say, hey, we don't need it anymore. You can't get a hold of them, and it's a horrible feeling, because you're trying to do the right thing, and I'm always been a man of my word. So when I tell people I'm going to do something, I will do it, and even if it's my mistake, I'll just I'll eat it, right? So
I just did that yesterday. I just sold bait stations to one of my apartment complexes at cost, because when I was in a hurry when I was doing my numbers, wrote my numbers up, put it on the agreement, and sent it. And didn't realize till yesterday when I went to go do the service, I'm looking at the production. I'm like, that is not enough for this mini paint station.
Right.
Like, God dang it, man.
So, I mean, but again, that's on you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that happens, but
But I'm going to eat that, right? I'm going to live with all right, I've sent them a contract. They signed the contract, you know?
It's done.
So,
Yeah. So, but I would. It's hard to remember, to be honest, too. Some of the things that you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
That one has always stood out to me the most. I think that was a big, deal breaker with like keeping customers and kind of spinning your wheels. And, I will say the other thing, I picked up a second job. I was doing some demolition work and working for a remodeling company. It was actually my mother-in-law's company. So when she had some extra work that her guys couldn't get to, she'd call me, and it started getting to the point where she's having me go out 2-3 days a week. And, it's really hard on you when you're trying to do that, plus build your company as well. You're almost back in the same situation when you're working at Dewey. That out. When you were working at a pest control company and then trying to start your thing on the side or after hours. So I would probably not have done that, even though I really needed the money. There was 1 month, it was maybe 5-6 months after I got in, and I called Nathan. I was like, hey man, we got to pray, like I'm I'm about $500 short for making my rent and, keeping a roof over my family's head. And I had 3-4 days left in the month. And by the grace of God, something came in and took care of that. And but there's very hard times, and I think a lot of people try to be 100% prepared for what they're going to do, and I think there's just going to be things you do make mistakes on, and there's no way to avoid it entirely. You do have to make those mistakes. So but there's some easy ones to avoid. Like I just spoke about. But I would say that's just. Go into it knowing you're going to make mistakes.
Well, right. Mistakes are part of it, right? Like I told my son this the other day, we were talking about something else, but I told him, right? Like you can't charge more until you're worth more, but you can't be worth more until you've gone out and just figured out how to do some stuff. That's how you become worth more. Like maybe I shouldn't have been charging an initial when I started, right? Like maybe I wasn't worth it, but I am now. Like I know what I can do, right? And so sometimes that kind of figures into it, if you're gonna wait until everything's perfectly in place, it's just never gonna happen. If you're waiting until you've got $100,000 in the bank, you're not gonna start your own thing. Unless
life always throws something at you.
Yeah, unless you're making god awful money, right? But you're not, because in our industry, that's not the level that we as technicians, that's not the level we're living at. Right? It's not the level I was living at, right? I make a little bit more money than that now. I don't even know. I'd have to really dial in to see what I make.
It's none of their business.
Right, yeah. But I'm right at that, right? But that's now. If you're making $5-6 grand a month, you don't have couple extra bucks in your bank account, something like that, right? And you may need to already have a part-time something gig lined up, right? The guys that I know that have gone out and started their own thing, Dave had a part-time gig. I also pastor a church, so that supplemented me a little bit. And then a couple other guys that I know, one of them for a while worked for a delivery company or whatever, right? And in this economy, with the gig economy, there's a lot of little gigs you can do that aren't that aren't real invasive and will allow you between Grubhub, Uber, Amazon, right? There's some gigs you could work, right? So but if you were starting if you went back to when you first got into pest control, when would you have started your own company looking back? I know hindsight's 100% and right, but looking back, when do you think you were ready?
That's a good question. Now, that's a good question, because you obviously are constantly learning, and you'd want to say, I wish I would have done it at that 2-year mark. Just got it going. But how much did I learn in the meantime? Every year you're kind of getting more and more seasoned. And then getting into management obviously helped a lot. So that's a tough question, and I think your timing is what it is. So I wouldn't probably do it any different than I did this time.
I think looking back, I think that getting into management was probably the best thing I did in starting my own company. So if you're a technician, if you're a technician that's just a superstar, right? You kind of got some things figured out. Mose never was a manager.
He was assistant. So he did.
So he was assistant for a while. So, right. But so if you're a superstar, you may be able to just get out of the gate and rock and roll, right? But But if you're a technician, here's why if you're a technician at a company and you're like we are, right? You realized that your assistant manager and your manager aren't making more money than you, not significantly more, right? And so you probably have decided, well, I'm just going to stay as a technician. I got less responsibility and making the same money, right? And so, but here's why you should consider that leap to assistant manager or that leap to get into management, is because you're going to learn some things in those positions that will help you when you start your own thing, right? A lot of things that I learned in that position. I learned how to deal with ag, right? Talking with ag people for my guys, going through annual ag inspections for my company. I learned,
Talking to them.
Yeah, exactly, right? You learn how to talk to vendors. You learn who the vendors are. You learn what vendors do and like how limited they are or how extensive that some of these vendors are. You learn how to do things like your chemical reports, right? Your monthly usage. You learn how to do that stuff. You learn how to track customers, how to do collections, how to bill things. You learn what to charge for certain things. Right, and why to charge that much for certain things. So there's a lot of advantages to taking that step, like up and into management. And so it's something, right? If you're a technician still,
right?
Yeah, it's something you should consider, right?
Yeah,
like, wouldn't you tell somebody that?
Absolutely. That's why I said I don't think I would change what I did.
Yeah,
really, because you did learn so much getting into management. You know, I think you can still do it without it.
Yeah,
but I think you're going to struggle a lot more.
Yeah, I think I have met guys who I think probably started their own thing before they knew anything, and they seem to be at the same level as when they started. Yeah. Right? Not all of them, right? Like it's not a carte blanche statement, but right, it seems to be that way. So I think there's some advantages, right, to taking different steps and different paths towards the eventual goal.
And also you got to, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, like, are you the kind of person that's self-motivated?
Yeah.
Do you need someone to tell you, hey, you got to be at work at 8 o'clock tomorrow?
Yeah.
And if you do, this isn't you shouldn't be self-employed, because you have to be motivated to get up and fired up every day. And if you don't have that, you're not going to succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. We're both sitting in pretty, not great spots, right? Like, we're not making millions of dollars, but we're sitting comfortable, right, in what we do. And we still get up and go to work every morning. All right. Yeah. And so, there's days where we could just go, you know what, I'm just going to reschedule everything too. Right. But we still get up, we still go to work, right? We still do those things. Customers can still call us. We will still get off our couch and put our work clothes on and go take care of problems, right? That's what you do. So you've got to have that kind of a mindset, right? If you're the person in the office who's constantly has to be told what to do, you might want to rethink, right? Become the person that you need to be before you decide to take that leap, take that jump. And so
you might be putting yourself and your family in a bad position.
Yeah.
By making that decision.
Yeah. Overall, for me, the point of starting my company was not just that I was disappointed with what one of the owners from the company that I previously worked for said. The real reason I started my own company was I was leaving my house usually 6-ish, right? Technically earlier than that, most of the time about 5:30, but at the latest at 6 in the morning. I didn't get home until at the earliest 6. Sometimes even 7:30, depending on traffic. I live in LA, right? Or the LA area. And so, right, I'd walk through the door, I'd eat dinner, I'd put my kids in bed, and we'd do this all again tomorrow. And then, of course, weekends become the time to get done everything that's got to get done. If your kid's got to get a haircut or, whatever you got to do, all that stuff's got to be done on the weekends. And all of a sudden you realize, like, dude, I'm not living.
Yeah, not to mention the commute. If you, depending on, we've both done it where you're leaving at 5 in the morning and getting home at 7:30 at night, so it leaves very, very little time for family.
Yeah. And so that was a big reason I did it, right? Like, I wanted to spend more time with my family. And by the way, it's what prevents me from taking on some things. I don't take on some things because there's customers that would do business with me and maybe pay me if I'd show up on Saturday, but sorry, I don't do that. Like, that's not my business model. And so, right, if that's your business model, it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, right, that's not my business model. And so you got to think about, some of those kind of things.
What you want basically out of it. Yeah. So what are your priorities?
I think we've probably given you a lot of information. I'm sure we'll do another one of these, but if there's a guy listening to this that's sitting on the fence and is thinking to himself, maybe I should start, but I've only got, $5,000 in my bank account and my next check.
Yeah.
and my next check. What would you tell him? What's kind of your advice to him?
That's a hard one because, again, that goes back to what we just spoke about how, what kind of individual are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess if you're the individual we were speaking about, where you're motivated and you got some things like you're hungry to get going, absolutely, just go for it. Make the jump because, it's not going to get much better. Like Nathan said, you're not going to save up enough. I've got a friend, and I won't name his name. Not a friend, I guess, but just like someone I used to work with, and I've been talking to that guy since I started. He's been calling me and asking about, one thing after another. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. To this day, he hasn't done it.
Yeah.
And so I think there are people out there like that too. And then,
and he's probably in a better position than you are.
He's in a pretty good position too. He's got, his wife works and, he's got what he says anyway, might saved up, but and then there's the people like we just spoke about also, right? That they need someone to tell them to go to work. Those, I would absolutely say no. So I don't think there's a definitive one answer to that question.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I think it comes down to, right, there are some ducks you need to have in a row to jump out on your own, but you can live on a lot less money than you think you can. You'll find that out really quick.
Spaghetti.
Well, you find out, right? You're not going to be, eating steak, but like if we wanted to right now, right, we can go wherever we want and go get steak, right? It's not a brag. That's right. That wasn't the way it was for the first 6 months that we were doing this on our own, right?
Yeah.
Or year, right? It was not like that, right? It sucked. There's no way to get around the suck. I don't care how long you prepare or how much money you got in the bank. You're not going to miss the suck. It's going to suck.
It's going to suck.
And so, right. So, right. All of that to say, right. Like you can live on less than you think you can. So you need to figure out you probably do need to talk to people around you, make sure that you've got some things lined up, right? So that, hey, look I've got a little part-time gig that's going to provide enough to, cover this bill or that bill. And, I need this house and, we'll figure food out, we can make things happen. And so, you'll find out quick, you can live on a lot less than you think.
I'd also say to add to that, your support system is important. You know? Having people around you that are rooting for you, and there's quite a few times I think even you and I call and we're like, dude, what am I doing? Right?
We had that conversation yesterday and then today again because we're trying to take a step forward, a little bit of progress, and we're going to be splitting something as far as money goes, and both of us are complaining about the fact that. Feels like we're bleeding right now.
Spending a lot of money and stuff.
That's never going to end. But the flip side of it, here's the other side of that coin, right? Of making sure you got some things set in order. Here's the other side of that coin. Let me tell you what you already probably know, and if you don't know this, you haven't been in pest control very long. If you start your own thing tomorrow, start your own thing tomorrow, and 2 months from now, you're like, oof. Nope, F this, I'm going back to a company. You can go float your application. If you got that license, you're going to get hired somewhere within 2 weeks. You know it, I know it, unless you suck. And if you suck, you probably should not start your own thing. Right? But unless you suck, I know right now, I could walk in to start going around to pest control companies and saying, hey, I've got a branch 2, a branch 3. I'm looking for work. Somebody's going to pick me up.
Yeah, you're going to get hired pretty quick.
All right. The absolute worst thing that can happen to you if you try to start your own thing is that you end up back where you're at right now. That's the worst part.
Worst case scenario.
Absolute worst case scenario.
Yep. In fact, most of the time, the company you left would probably take you back.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
It's a very small risk as far as that goes.
Most of the time, they would take you back as a point of pride. See, you tried, you failed.
Yeah. To the rest of the company.
Yeah.
Look, this guy tried, didn't make it.
Look at Billy Bo Bob Brain here tried, and he failed. See, So I would tell you, right? It's worth the risk of trying to get your own thing going. Whatever you're doing, right? If you've been a plumber for a while, you've been working for a large company for a while, right? You know what it takes to take that next step, and you can probably get back to where you're at right now, right, within a year or so. If you're painting, HVAC, whatever it is, right? And some of these will probably take you less time than it would take us, right? We're selling little ticket items, right? Like small ticket items. We're selling things that are worth, like a big value for us would be something like a fumigation or something, which is, $2,000 or $3,000. But those are, once in a blue moon. What we're usually selling nets us about $150, $200 most of the time. I mean, we're not selling big ticket items, so it takes us a long time to build that up. But if you're an HVAC or plumbing or something like that, you could get one job that'd cover you for a half a year.
Yeah, most people spend that on their bar tab.
Yeah. So so whatever it is you're doing, listen, here's the point at the end of the day, right? The reason that we got together, the reason that like we're even talking about it is right, like we want guys to do what we're doing. Not necessarily that everybody needs to start their own company, because not everybody needs to start their own company, but if it could improve your life, like give you back, right, your family,
freedom,
right, some of your freedom, like we want that to happen. Since I have started my own company, I think I want to say there's 6 or 7 different guys that, right, are within, right, like my circle of I don't know if influence is the right word, friends and, right, like people, acquaintances, people that I know that have started their own thing. They haven't all started because of me, right? It's not like I was like, hey, you should start your own thing. And then they went, oh, you know what? Nathan's the greatest mentor ever. I should start my own thing. Like, I don't think that's what happened. But, right, they looked and said, you know what? If Nathan could do it, he's an idiot. I could probably do it. Right? Like, and so, like, I'm no genius.
Yeah.
But
that's one thing we've always agreed on. Like, if I can do it, I mean, and you can't be a complete moron.
Yeah.
you gotta be able to have some kind of know-how. But yeah.
We've both met guys that are running their own companies, guys that we wouldn't hire.
Yeah.
So, right?
Surprise.
Like, if you're a type of person that, like, right, you have that confidence, right? You know that you do a good job. You know that you care about your customers. You know that you care about your company. Listen, when I started my company, I didn't touch a dime from the company I left. Not a dime. I didn't take one single customer. I didn't take one contact from them. We all know guys that's how they built their entire company. It's how they got started on their own.
Right. They took
took their entire route with it.
Yeah.
Listen, that's not honest. That's not integrity.
Yeah, you can't feel good about that.
Yeah, I didn't take anything from them.
Yeah.
And it is a point of pride to me that I didn't take anything from them, right?
Absolutely.
Because this is mine. I built this.
Yeah,
right?
no one helped.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Wasn't given. It was earned.
I think actually Dave helped. He sold my first customer actually.
Through a ring doorbell, which is impressive. Took me 1 hour.
Yes.
It was 2 weeks in.
Yeah. He came down on a Saturday and went and knocked doors with me. He sold my first customer.
Yeah.
It was that week that I sold my first customer too. Was that week. But right. So, but all of that to say, right, look at, right, take the leap, right? Do something. Like,
my friend Nick, right?
Yeah.
Good example of, he doesn't have the same drive that maybe you or I do, right? And he's aware of this, and we've spoke about it before. Yeah. But it's taken him longer, and he's suffered kind of from maybe not hitting doors as often, and having that drive and that work ethic.
Yeah.
But he's getting there, he's gonna make it. So we've said this before. Yeah. You will make it eventually. It could be 1 year or 10, It just depends on you, right? And what you're willing to put into your business.
Yeah.
So that's another factor. Even if you're not good, you probably will succeed at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you learn so much, dude, along the way, right, of doing this. There's a guy that I listen to actually about like recording stuff like I'm doing now. And he says all the time, right? Like, look, the greatest thing you're ever going to do in your life is take massive, imperfect action. Right? If you're waiting for everything to be perfect, you're never going to do anything.
Yeah.
Right? Take massive, imperfect action.
Yeah.
Right? We've both made massive, colossal mistakes, screw ups, all that kind of stuff.
Roof I stepped through, that custom ceiling.
Yeah. That's
right. Mansion. That was a big mistake. That cost me.
Yeah. Right. Like, we've both made huge mistakes, and right, we've made it. Right? We survived. And maybe we'll cover some of those mistakes in a different podcast. But I think we've probably had your ear for long enough. So listen, appreciate you. Right, if you've made it this far in this podcast, I appreciate you coming out listening to us.
It's mostly because of me, though.
Yeah, probably. But listen, if it helped you out, right, like and subscribe. Share it with somebody you know that maybe has been talking to you about starting their own thing, been considering it too. Pass it along to them. And listen, I'd be happy to answer whatever questions I can answer for you, or pass your information on to Dave. He can answer whatever questions for you as well. All right, just drop something in the comment, and I'll shoot you. Or I think the email address should be attached there somewhere. You can always send me an email, whatever works for you. I appreciate you being with us today. That's Pest Profits. Let's go make some money.
Don't skip leg day.